Hello everyone. It's the month of October. We are in Halloween spirit, but today I wanted to continue with my episodes of reading chapters in my book. If you haven't watched my previous video, in it I revealed the chapters in my book. I also read the introductory chapter. So you may want to watch that before you watch this. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Today I am going to be reading chapter 1 of my book. I am not reading the whole chapter, but I will be reading a part of it. Otherwise, it will be a long video. And this is it. This is chapter 1 of my book, part 1, chapter 1 of my book, titled My Childhood. I was born and raised in Uganda. I had a good childhood until about the age of 12. My father, Mr. Peter Vunia, had studied and worked as a nurse in Great Britain in the 1970s. Upon his return, he established a good life for himself and his family. He was Uganda's passport control officer, signing the Ugandan passports. He also owned one of the leading mixed farms in Uganda. A mixed farm is an agricultural system in which a farmer conducts a combination of different agricultural practices such as cash crop production, poultry, and dairy farming. Our farm, Penia Mixed Farm, mostly produced cotton, watermelon, livestock, which included piggery, dairy, and poultry farming. That is, raising layer chickens for the purpose of eggs. My mother, Miss Rose Vunia, was a prison officer at Luzira Maximum Prison in the 1970s and early 1980s when I was born. She later transferred to serve as an administrator of the women's prison in Arua, Uganda. Together, my mom and dad had 5 children, 4 sons and 1 daughter, me. I also have step siblings whom I love dearly. At my father's request, my mother quit her job and moved to the village to become a full-time stay-at-home mom. Between 1989 and 1990, life was good and I was pretty much a daddy's princess, showered with gifts and so much love. My father was the type of dad who enjoyed singing to his children. He nicknamed his kids and composed special songs for them. He called me Oli, a short form of my middle name, Oliver. He named me Oliver and my elder brother, Victor, after Olive and Vic Marston, the British couple who hosted him during his years in England in the 1970s. He would sing a special song to me with my name every time he arrived at the gate of our home. That was how I would know he was home. I would sing back to him and run to welcome him. He was very gentle with me and never punished me, not even once. He made me feel very special, being the only girl amongst 4 boys by my mother. I saw my father punish one of my brothers once because of me. Luke, my elder brother, had special needs as a result of cerebral malaria that he suffered from as a child. One day in the late 1980s, the people in our village boarded our truck to go to my aunt's husband's funeral. I was watching from a distance as they boarded the vehicle. My brother had wanted to go too, but he had been told no, so he was unhappy. When he saw me standing there, he ordered me to go home, but I insisted I wanted to see Mommy get on the truck. He got angry and started chasing me and beating me as he dragged me on the ground for about 100 meters towards our home. As he was beating me, there was a plane in the air about to land. Our village is located near Arua Airfield, and my dad often traveled by air to and from Kampala city to the town of Arua. I had no idea he would be arriving that day. In order to get my brother to stop, I cried and pointed at the plane that was landing and told him Dad was in it. I was going to report him to Daddy when he arrived. That made my brother even more angry, and he beat me more. All the adults in the home were gone, so nobody was to stop him. He finally stopped on his own and then left to go hang out at our neighbors. Shortly after he was gone, my dad arrived. He had indeed traveled in the plane that landed. When he arrived, he sang my song as usual, but this time I didn't sing back to him. I just ran to welcome him. When he asked what was wrong, I showed him my back that was bruised from being dragged on the ground. He was so angry that he went looking for my brother within the village. He found him at my great uncle's home and started beating him, but the women there stopped him. My father left and came home drunk that night. He told my mother what happened and went straight to my brother's room and beat him badly. From that day on, my brother hated my dad and me. He barely ever spoke to me again throughout the rest of our lives spent together. I was also afraid to talk to him. At some point in my adulthood, I attempted to mend our relationship, but it was too late. Our mother was Luke's favorite. He spoke my mother's language fluently. Most of her other children, including myself, did not. Her native language is different from that of my father's. She was Alur, Luo by tribe, and my father was Alugbara. Luke considered my mother's side of the family his true relatives. He enjoyed spending time with them. My relationship with my father remains dear to me. Although he is not in the best of health at the present moment, he still sings to me once in a while when I call home. My relationship with my mother was quite the converse to that of my father's. She was never a nurturing parent to me. I'm not sure if it was because of her career background as a prison officer, but I disliked that rough part of her. She owned a special unbreakable stick made of a bamboo tree. It had a metallic tip and a round metallic bottom engraved with the logo of Ugandan emblem on it. She sometimes used the stick to beat my elder brother and me. She beat us even for the slightest mistakes. I was a very forgetful child that resulted in me receiving a lot more beatings. So I was often fearful of her. The beatings always occurred in my father's absence, so he was never aware of them. I think he would have been very unhappy with her if he ever found out. However, despite her critical parenting nature, she was a very hardworking, intelligent, smart, and independent. She was hardworking, intelligent, smart, independent, and she was the woman behind some of my father's successes. My parents both helped raise kids not of their own. As an adult, I've grown closer to my mother and value our relationship more than ever. Despite her harshness to me as a child, I did learn a lot from her. I love my mother dearly and care for her deeply, but growing up, I was not so fond of her as compared to my father. So in the next video, I will be continuing with this chapter, but for today, I will stop here. Thank you for watching.